Today we are out at the Old Messenger Road Preserves, located in West Granby. The parking lot is easily accessed at 61 Strong Road and is large enough to park a few vehicles to make this a great location for a group hike. Once you get out of your vehicle, you will be greeted by an orchestra of birds calling from the neighboring forest, including yellow warbler, American redstart, and red-eyed vireo. The Katan-Ensor Preserve is the access point for the Old Messenger Road Preserves, which also include the Schlicht family and Richard P. Garmany Preserves. All the trails in these properties can be accessed by continuing past the wooden gate and up the old drive. As you reach the top of the hill, you will find an old barn down the hill on your right and a gazebo to your left that stood where the old homestead used to be. This beautiful 30-acre property, the Katan-Ensor Preserve, was given to the Land Trust by longtime Granby environmentalists and ardent Land Trust supporters Charlie Katan and Joan Ensor Katan. Charlie was a co-founder of the Granby Land Trust, and Joan gave horse riding lessons for decades on this property. This was and remains a very special place. The lawn of the old homestead is maintained periodically to make it easy to walk around the old property. The kiosk, including the trail map and other information about the preserve, can be found at the edge of the lawn, where you can begin your journey on the trails. Or you can take a seat in the Adirondack chairs and simply listen and watch nature. If you're lucky, there may be a gray catbird ready to serenade you. A quick glance at the trail map, and you will see that the Katan-Ensor Preserve contains the red and blue trails, while the yellow and orange trails are located in the Schlicht family and Garmany Preserves. For the featured trail on these properties, we will be starting on the blue trail, beginning up behind the Adirondack chairs. The initial portion of the blue trail leads uphill to a rocky overlook, which has good views higher into the canopy of the forest below. We will then continue down from the overlook on the blue trail through a young forest before hitting the red trail. We will take the red trail to our left for a short distance and then continue onto the yellow trail. We are on the yellow trail for a large portion of the rest of the hike, eventually leading left on the yellow trail to head to Scarlet Tanager Outlook. We then complete the loop on the yellow trail, keeping left to head past the Old Messenger homestead and finally to the mountain brook. We'll then follow the yellow trail back to the red trail, where you can either take the red trail on your left or continue straight. Both take you back to the kiosk. These properties offer many opportunities to take shorter or longer loops, depending on how much time you have. The blue trail begins with a gradual incline through a hardwood forest. Maples and birches dominate this area, with a sprinkling of oak trees as you reach the higher elevations. Depending on the season, you may hear a variety of birds calling in the canopy above, including Baltimore orioles and scarlet tanagers. About halfway up the hill, you'll notice gaps in the canopy, as well as many decaying logs laying on the forest floor. These fallen logs provide valuable habitat for many species, as they provide a source of shelter and food for a variety of animals. These logs can also serve as nurse logs for new tree seedlings to form, allowing for regeneration of the forest. Continuing up the Blue Trail will lead you to a rocky overlook. In the spring and winter, when the leaves are not out yet, this point can have nice views of the surrounding landscape. However, when the leaves are out, this area provides a peek into the canopy of the forest below. A bench at the overlook provides a nice area to take a break and take in the sights and sounds. You may be able to find a variety of native wildflowers blooming, such as these red columbine that bloom in early spring. Once you are done at the overlook, the trail continues down through a section of forest that is much younger and has many small diameter trees. This area can be very active for bird species that prefer this habitat, such as blue-gray gnatcatchers, American redstarts, veery, and nuthatch, to name a few. If you're lucky, you may even see a secretive yellow-billed cuckoo foraging in the trees above. Once you're done at the overlook, the trail continues down through a section of forest that is younger due to the logging activity that occurred in the past. You can see the old stumps from trees that were logged lying on the forest floor, now covered in moss. The trail passes through a rocky section that can provide a variety of habitat for small mammals and birds. A small brook flows along the side of the trail, and this keeps the ground damp enough for a variety of ferns to grow, including Christmas and cinnamon ferns. If you hike in the spring, you will also find the trail lined with bluets blooming. You can also see some other tree species in this area, including hickories like this shagbark hickory and tulip poplar. The trails in this area have a variety of small brooks flowing through the forest. And where the trail crosses these brooks, there are rocks strategically placed to keep your feet dry. Just watch your step. The blue trail dead ends at the red trail, where you can continue right onto the red trail back to the kiosk and where you began, or you can continue left, which leads you directly into the yellow trail. We will continue left to follow the yellow trail into the Schlicht Family Preserve. The yellow trail begins relatively flat, passing through a young forest and small forest brooks. The trail then continues uphill through a young forest as it progresses into an older forest dominated by oaks and maples. As you continue up the trail, you will find a large boulder known as a glacial erratic. Gaps in the canopy, such as this one, which form when a single tree falls out of the canopy, are really important to help create diversity and structural complexity within the forest. When the gap forms in the canopy, sunlight is able to hit the forest floor, which helps to regenerate trees and shrubs that are now able to utilize this extra sunlight. Beyond the glacial erratic, the trail continues uphill slightly and then flattens out to progress through an older forest that has much less understory growth compared to the forest below. The trees and shrubs that are in the understory are mostly striped maples, birches, and beeches, which are shade-tolerant species and able to grow in the dense shade of the canopy. A careful eye to the forest floor, and you may find native flowers blooming, like this native geranium. As the yellow trail splits, continue to the left to head up to the Scarlet Tanager Outlook. This is one of the last major uphill sections of the trail, and the view is definitely worth it once you reach the top. At the overlook, you will be impressed by the views all the way to the Eastern Highlands on the far side of the Connecticut River Valley on a clear day. A bench is placed perfectly to take a break, relax, and enjoy the view and the species that may be present. As the name implies, this is a great spot to listen and hear scarlet tanagers in the spring and summer. As you are hiking up the hill towards Scarlet Tanager Outlook, you may notice that the canopy becomes dominated by oaks, particularly chestnut oaks, that are able to tolerate the drier rocky soils in this area. There will also be some eastern red cedar trees, which are also able to tolerate these drier conditions. This overlook is a great location to see the sunrise over the state as well. From the overlook, continue on the yellow trail through a forest that gets progressively older with large sugar maples in the canopy. There are only a few species in the understory, which is dominated by ferns in most places. This windy trail will lead you to the old Messenger homestead, where the stone foundations can still be seen in the ground. You'll also notice the stone walls that are still present on the property. These foundations and walls are relics of the old lives that used to work this land. From this point, head downhill on the yellow trail, following the sounds of flowing water. This water is from the mountain brook, which can be seen by a short trail at the base of the hill, leading you to the waterfalls. This water is from the mountain brook, which can be seen taking a short trail off the base of the hill, leading you directly to the brook. This cold water brook is a perfect spot to sit and relax and take in the sounds of nature. There are a variety of short little waterfalls and various large rocks that create beautiful effects in the water. From this point, you will follow the yellow trail once again, now in a lower section of the forest from where you previously hiked. This trail winds through a mixed forest dominated by hardwoods and eventually meets back up, completing the yellow trail loop. You will head back downhill towards the large glacial erratic that was already passed and eventually end back up at the red trail intersection. You can either progress straight to follow the red trail, or you can turn left to follow the red trail. Both directions will lead you back to where you initially started and to the kiosk on the lawn. The forest in this area is younger again and is very dense. The red trail ends with crossing over a wooden footbridge, which crosses a flowing brook. The red trail leads you back to the lawn after passing through a grove of spruce trees that were planted long ago. Heading downhill will lead you towards your vehicle, where you can take a break and relax in the Adirondack chairs placed behind the kiosk. That is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this little sneak peek at the trails located in the Old Messenger Preserves. This featured trail is just under 2 3/4 of a mile, but there are other alternatives to create a shorter or longer hike if you desire. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for your support of the Granby Land Trust. I hope you'll check out the trails for yourself. Just remember to leave no trace.